Hi, it's Maggie the Irish Gypsy here to bring you your November 2018 general reading. Aquarius, your cards are like jumping all over the place. Thank you to everyone for joining us here today and welcome to any newcomers. Thank you always for those of you who continue to follow my channel, all your feedback and comments and your likes and shares and subscribes. And thank you to all of my clients out there too, regular and new. Who continue to reach out and keep me so busy with personal readings. If any of you are interested in a personal reading with me, live or recorded, and you've never read with me before or you've forgotten the information, you can get more info and contact details by going to my YouTube channel's homepage, clicking on the little About button there, or you can click on the description bar of any of the videos I post. Please feel free to email me directly at maggie1mcguire@gmail.com. I'd be delighted to work with you. Turnaround time is pretty timely. I do readings full-time 5 to 6 days a week. It is what I do. So I work pretty diligently with your schedule to get your reading as quickly as possible. I do a wide variety of readings of all different types and lengths in all areas of life. You can also find me on the smartphone app Instantgo under Irish Gypsy. That link's also provided. That's for quick, easy answers to the quick, easy questions. Anything more in-depth or traditional or complex, just send me an email and I will respond to you within the first 24 hours. Okay, let's move right into this. This reading is for the air sign of Aquarius for the month of November 2018. Aquarius, your cards have just been jumping all over the place as I'm shuffling them. Check your rising and moon sign videos if you know them for additional clarification. Okay, Aquarius, let's see what's in store for you for the month of November 2018. We begin, I am recording the November generals on the last couple of days of October. So we begin with the King of Swords, followed by the Five of Wands. We have the Four of Cups, followed by the Two of Swords. We have the World, followed by the Queen of Swords. We have the Queen of Cups, followed by the Two of Pentacles, and from the bottom of the deck, your overall energy and focus and guidance is the Six of Cups. So I generally pull 2 cards per week, Aquarius. But as I always say, time is fluid, and particularly so in general readings because there's so many of you watching. So for some of you, this might be situations that begin a little earlier or ongoing or a little bit later. But it's the general energy for November. So it looks like the focus for you, your crowning card representing overall focus and energy for the month of November, is the Six of Cups. This is a card that's often associated with the past. Reminiscence, nostalgia can represent the past, or it can represent childhood, roots of origin, parents, family, relatives, where you come from, where you get your identity from. It can represent long-standing old relationships, friendships, people from the past popping up. Because we're doing this is part of November's general reading. It could be people from the past resurfacing, but we're also entering the holiday season in November, at least here in the States. We have, Halloween and then Thanksgiving, which is a big family-oriented holiday. So some of you, the general energy might just be on family and kids and relatives and, old friends and stuff because of the holiday season. People kind of gather together, particularly around Thanksgiving, and Christmas, to celebrate holidays together. So it could be that for some of you, and it could be the general focus for other reasons is on family as well, and perhaps what to do about a situation which may involve your family. You have, Aquarius, both the King and the Queen of Swords in your reading, air sign, Aquarius, Gemini, Libra energy. So I feel like for a lot of you, for those of you that are coupled, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, or however you want to title that, there is that sense of coupleship this month, or the situation may involve the two of you. For those of you not involved in a committed relationship in terms of a love and romance sense, this can represent a partnership. It could be a really great friend, like a kindred spirit, karmic soulmate kind of friend, close family member, or a close partnership in business or work as well. Because typically when the king and queen of the same suit show up, it usually denotes a pretty significant relationship, or a relationship or partnership that has some weight and history behind it, because the two of you are solidly established together, king and queen in the same suit, if that makes sense. Okay. So we already know that the overall focus is family, and it could just be for those of you that have mates or partners, or or best friends, that sort of thing. The two of you are kind of prominent this month because of holidays and maybe family gathering together. And you may have some issues as well. I know holidays can be a challenge for people. There sometimes seems to be more family conflict during that time. I know the time of the year that we're supposed to be focused, or the focus is on, or the promotion of the focus is on togetherness, often is a time that brings up more conflict between people and family members. So we begin with the King of Swords and the Five of Wands. Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, energy, sun, moon, or rising. I feel like for many of you, the King and Queen of Swords represents you and a close partnership or relationship. But for others of you, it could represent another air sign person. Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, sun, moon, or rising, showing up as a male, but could be a female in general reading. That could also be significant and influential. Now there's some conflict here. What clarifies the King of Swords is the, did I say pentacles or swords? It's swords. So what clarifies the King of Swords is the Five of Wands. So the Five of Wands is a card of conflict. It's not huge conflict. It often represents petty conflict. You can see that the men in this circle are sparring with each other. They're using practice weapons, not real weapons. They're not out to kill each other for blood. It can represent competitive energy too, like competing, trying to one-up other people or somebody else. It can represent internal and external conflict, although usually one bleeds into the other anyway. Internal conflict usually affects the relationships we have as people. The conflict we have with other people usually reflects on us internally, so it's usually kind of a conflict is symbiotic too. So nobody's really out to kill each other, but nobody's willing to back down, compromise or negotiate, elevate themselves out of this conflict. So there's no winners and no losers, but no clear solution, no path, circular arguments, fighting about the same thing over and over again. In work, this can represent petty office gossip, rumor mongering, back talk, snippy kind of barracuda energy. Not serious, although it can feel and be kind of harmful, but it fundamentally doesn't represent really significant conflict, meaning that what you're fighting about in the big scheme of things is not really hugely important. So there's some kind of conflict going on, and it could be, I feel like for a lot of it, there's some internal conflict going on within you guys as well, or your partner. And by partner, again, I can mean boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, or best friend, close family member, close business partnership, or some combination of that energy. So next we have the Four of Cups and the Two of Swords. And it may be, for those of you who are struggling with something within your partnership or family, it could be maybe feel a bit more challenging right now because we're entering the holiday season and the focus is usually supposed to be more on family, so it might feel more challenging. Holidays can sometimes put a magnifying glass on maybe issues or challenges that are already present, so be careful of that. So we have the Four of Cups and the Two of Swords. So the Four of Cups is a card that can represent maybe feeling bored, feeling disconnected, not feeling enthusiastic or plugged in about something. It can represent feeling very listless and apathetic, or being restless, maybe wanting to make a change but not really wanting it bad enough to actually get up and do anything about it right now. The cups which are next to this man in the grass, upright, full, beautiful, another one being offered to him out of the sky, almost as if another gift or opportunity, somebody reaching out to him right there. But he doesn't seem to be connected to anything. So it can represent that there might be a situation, a job, a group of friends, a long-term relationship, and that somehow the shine is worn off of it. You're feeling bored. You might be feeling that it's time for a change. Be careful with that because we all go through these in jobs and career paths and relationships, which are good because it looks like it's good, and that we're meant to be in. But energy and emotions fluctuate. So we sometimes go through times where we feel, maybe bored or not, enthusiastic or plugged in. So be careful about making decisions based purely on that feeling, on these feelings right when you're feeling them. So, it could be that something has run its course and you need to move on because it's unhealthy, or something like that. But be careful about making it based on just on these feelings. So what clarifies the Four of Cups is the Two of Swords. This is a card about feeling stuck, not wanting to deal with something. You have two twos here. You have the Two of Swords and the Two of Pentacles. Both one in the middle of the month and one more towards the end of the month. Both which twos can represent duality, being at a crossroads, needing to make a choice. The blindfold on this woman's face can represent that she doesn't know what choice to make. She's kind of struggling, but it also that she can't see. But often the Two of Swords represents, I sometimes feel like it's the head stuck in the sand card. There's a gigantic 800-pound pink elephant in the living room, and you dust around it and you clean up around it, but you don't actually really look right at it, because if you did that, you'd have to acknowledge it, actually do something about it. The blindfold in this can often represent a reluctance and a resistance to making a decision, choosing a path, or dealing with something that's right in front of you or in your environment, but you don't really want to deal with it for whatever reason. Could be that you're tired of dealing with it, because it might be that same old thing going around and around and around. Could be there's an issue, you don't want to face it, and you're just feeling tired of it. You don't want to deal with it. It's kind of the energy I'm getting. Again, for some of you, it might be, let's take a look at your elemental energy here. We have 3 cups, 3 swords, 1 wand, 1 pentacle. It could be in job, work, career path, spiritual path, but I feel like it's more relationship or family oriented. The nature of that relationship may vary because it's a general reading, and again, it could be work. I feel like for the majority of you, it's a little bit more close to home. This conflict and this feeling, whatever this is about. Or, it might be that you've reached a point in your life or in your job, career path, or in your life in general, where you're just feeling like you don't want to keep doing what you're doing anymore. And you may be discussing that with your partner this month, for those of you who have partners, or somebody that you feel very close and connected to. So next we have the World and the Queen of Swords. So the World is a card of major completion. A significant chapter in your life ending. We're always kind of going through cycles of beginning and ending cycles, which are what the tens, the number 10 cards represent in the tarot. The World is a bigger, it's like a significant chapter of your life reaching an end, an achievement point. It's the last major arcana card in the tarot, the first being the Fool. The Fool is the first major arcana card in the tarot. He has the 0 at the top of his card, and all the cards after the Fool are about the Fool's journey through life, i.e. our journey through life. Trials, learning, succeeding, failing, triumph, defeat, everything that we learn as we go along the path of life, growing and evolving until we get to the end. The last major arcana card, the World, we've reached the top of the world. So a significant chapter of your life is closing, has closed, or is drawing to a close. A pretty big mountain that you've been working on climbing for a while, you finally reach the top of, or there's a sense of completion. And generally in the upright position, it is a positive energy completion. Or you've reached a completion point, you're looking back, Positive meaning you've done a lot to get to where you're at now, or you're looking at where you're at, even if it represents the ending of something, like the ending of a job, a career path, or a relationship. You look back and see everything that you put into it, because the world represents coming to the end of something that you put a lot of yourself into. Now, what clarifies it is the Queen of Swords. So now we have the feminine counterpart to the King of Swords, typically, not always, but most often representing a significant or primary relationship, partnership, close connectedness. So because it clarifies the world, this can represent a few different things. I mean, on a very kind of basic relationship level, and I'm speaking to those of you that are in committed relationships of a romantic nature, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. But, relationships, it can be, something else as well. I know that a lot of people who follow readers don't like it when, unless you specifically state that you only do love and romance, when most general readings seem to come out more relationship oriented. I mean, we have to go with what we get, but I try to look at all sides of them. I mean, it could be, again, some of you, maybe a smaller portion of you, this might be just being tired and feeling blah about your life path right now and wanting to do something different. Maybe it's time to retire. Maybe you want to switch and do something different. The World and the Queen of Swords could represent, that what you're feeling this way about might be your significant relationship or marriage. Secondarily, a different type of close relationship. Could be that you feel like it's time to move on from that, or you're exploring that idea, or it could be that you're tired of just your life path in general, or you feel like you're in a rut with your life path in general, maybe in your relationship, and you may need to be talking about this with this primary significant partner in this relationship. It might be you need to discuss this. I mean, the two of you are both in here together. So if this is something that involves the two of you, whether it's about your relationship or about something else which may affect your relationship, I feel like there needs to be this kind of on-board and communicative, collaborative kind of effort between the two of you. It's difficult to say if it's about the relationship or some other aspect of your life path, because again, we're entering the holiday season, and this shows that the focus here is on perhaps home, family, relatives, that sort of thing. But because of this time of year, it's a little tricky, and it's a general reading to say whether it's about that or whether it's just the general time of year is around home and family. But I feel like whatever the conflict is, for most of you, many of you, it's within that circle of what you call home and family and relationship. Now, at or towards the end of November 2018, we have the Queen of Cups and the Two of Pentacles. So the Queen of Cups could be a water sign individual, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Rising, showing up as a queen, but could also be a male. Loving, Cups is heart energy, water, heart, emotions, feelings, relationships. As a person, if this represents a person who is significant in your life, a water sign, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, or somebody manifesting as the Queen of Cups, she's very loving, very nurturing. She's reached the top of her game like all kings and queens have. Loving, nurturing, always knows the right thing to say, great source of love and support and encouragement, particularly emotionally. She's patient, understanding, compassionate. She has her bad days too, but for the majority of the time, that's what she's like. She's very in tune with her feelings. She often touches base about how she feels about things before rushing in. And she's very, very spiritual, so she's very intuitive as well, and she touches base with her intuition a lot. For some of you, it may be a water sign individual that's significant in the month of November, particularly more towards the end. For some of you, this can be advice as to, because it looks like there's something that needs to be dealt with. You may be needing to make a decision, but for some reason, not in a hurry to do it. The Queen of Cups can also show up as advice to check how you feel about something. what does your intuitive sense, what's under the emotion, your connection to the divine, what does that tell you is the right thing to do here? Because clarifying the Queen of Cups is the Two of Pentacles, another card that can represent needing to make a choice, juggling between two things or two people or two options. I mean, it clarifies the Queen of Cups. There is a possibility that some of you might be trying to make a decision, a relationship decision between two people. You may have a long-standing relationship or marriage of some kind. Somebody new may have come into the picture, or you may be attracted to somebody new or have the option of somebody new, and you're trying to kind of wrestle with that. Some of you, it may be that you're in a long-term established relationship or partnership, and your partner may be interested or have the opportunity to have a new energy, a new person there, and so there's this going back and forth energy about that, this struggle, this challenge, this conflict. Some of you, it may be, a choice between, I think a lot of you, it might be a choice about something else or considering another option of some kind that doesn't have to do with choosing between two people. And the Queen of Cups is advice to, while you're in the midst of kind of going back and forth and juggling and trying to think what's the right thing to do, make sure to check your feelings, your deepest feelings, and your intuition, your intuitive sense. Ask for help and clarity and insight and guidance from God, Spirit, your angels and guides, and any established mentors that you admire and respect based on how their life is. And I say that because, when we want to get true advice, I always recommend, if you don't have like an actual spiritual mentor, like a pastor, priest, or something of that sort, go to somebody whose life you feel is stable. And I mean, if you're seeking marriage or relationship advice, you probably wouldn't seek it from someone who's, single and been divorced or in and out of a series of relationships. I mean, we don't go to the dentist to get our broken foot fixed. So, when we go to seek advice from someone, make sure it's somebody whose life and advice and experience you respect and admire and is worthy of what you need advice on. So it looks like it might be a bit of a challenging time, although it's the holiday season too, and looks like there's opportunities for togetherness, for focus on family, which can produce its own up and down times. I'm going to pull a couple of additional advice from Spirit cards, which I've felt compelled to do in the last few months when a spread shows up in a general reading as a bit more challenging. Pull an additional, let's say, 2 cards for advice, guidance. We have Judgment and the Hierophant. So Judgment came out first. Judgment is a card that typically shows up when someone has a choice to make. It may not seem like a big choice in the present, or it may seem like a big choice in the present, but it is important in the long run as it plays out, which is what Judgment means. Judgment has an air of finality about it, meaning that whatever you choose, whatever you decide, whatever you act on and put into motion, the consequences and outcome will be based on that and will be irreversible, which means that you need to think very carefully because it will set the stage for something for quite some time to come, for positive or for negative. So consider carefully, no spontaneous or impulsive decisions or actions here, because you're responsible for what you choose to do, which is what judgment means fundamentally anyway. And what does judgment mean? What does it mean to be judged? It means to be called to answer for your actions, to be called to account, to be accountable, held accountable for your actions, positive or negative. Not what you wish, not what you thought, not what you felt, not what you wanted, not what you dreamed, but what you actually chose, decided, did, set into motion. Because we're responsible for that. So think very carefully before you make any significant life-changing or family-changing decisions as well. The second card that came out was the Hierophant, which is a card about convention, tradition, walking the prescribed path, tried and true. Could represent religious foundations, things which have been there a long time and are solid and established. It can represent family. It can have this, it could be seen as a supporter card of that Six of Cups, which is overall energy, family. And again, it can represent seeking out advice from a mentor, but a mentor who's like the Hierophant, someone you admire and respect, and whose advice would be based on experience and a healthy life of their own. Okay, interesting reading, Aquarius. It's not as happy and bright as other readings I know that you've had, and life just doesn't flow that way. I don't feel like it's a bad month. It looks like more of a contemplative month. You know, I feel like the advice is to, in discussions, to compromise and negotiate as much as possible. Not to compromise who you are, but anything that's in relationship to other people or other things is symbiotic. There's a give and a take. Compromise and negotiation, which means focusing on the real priorities and letting go of the small ones, which can avoid, lessen, and sometimes negate this conflict energy. So be conscious of that, and remember to be grateful for what you do have in your life, particularly during the time of year where it's focused on, you know, friends, family, loved ones, you know, giving thanks for whatever abundance we have as well. So Aquarius, that pretty much sums up your November 2018 general readings. I hope that you enjoyed it, found it useful and helpful, because that's why we do these. And again, if any of you are interested in a more personal one-on-one reading with me, live or recorded, you can get more info and contact details by going to my YouTube channel's homepage, clicking on that little About button, or you can click on the little description bar of any of the videos I post. Feel free to email me directly at maggie1mcguire@gmail.com. I do readings in love and romance, of course, relationship compatibility charting, reconciliation potential, career, work, and finance, as well as investment readings. I do channeled messages from past unloved ones as long as there was a strong connection there. And I do 6 and 12-month overviews, which take a look at what's coming in all the main areas of your life over a 6 or 12-month period, depending on how far ahead you want to look. Those are quite popular in the last few months of the year, although you can do them any time of the year, because a lot of people like to order them as we're heading towards the end of an old year and into a new year. And gift readings as well, which are also quite popular in the last couple of months of the year. Personal readings as gifts for friends, family, and loved ones. So something else to consider as well. But just feel free to send me an email and I will respond to you within the first day, the same day or the first 24 hours. So I will see you all again in a couple of weeks, Aquarius, for the November 2018 mid-month readings. And until then, as always, I wish you joy, peace, blessings, and a happy life. Take care, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Bye-bye.